Hi everyone, today I'm going to be comparing two lower-end Amazfit smartwatches from Xiaomi. The one on the left here is the Bip and the one on the right here is the Cor. Currently on Amazon the Bip comes in at $79.98 and the Cor is priced at $49.99. When I first started looking at both of these watches I couldn't figure out exactly why the Bip costs more, but there are some interesting differences, some of which account for the higher price for the Bip. So let's get started. Both watches come with a charging cradle and nothing else in the box. The Bip's cradle seems to be a little nicer. When you snap the Bip into its charging cradle, the band wraps around underneath, which is different than most charging cradles I've seen, and I kind of like it. On the Cor you have a magnetic connector that just snaps in place, and it works really well. I didn't have any problems with the orientation of the connector, although it only snaps in one way. Note that neither one of the watches come with a wall charger. So as far as styling goes, the Bip on the left is more of a traditional square watch, and the Cor here on the right is a band style watch. Both watches weigh 32 grams with the strap, but the Bip for some reason feels lighter to me. The Bip is definitely more comfortable to wear in my opinion, but if you like band style watches, you certainly might have a different opinion. I will say that my girlfriend's wrist was just too small for the Cor. The straps don't start flexing until farther out on your wrist, and if you have very small wrists, it simply doesn't work very well. Also, the Cor appears to be a bit thicker, which is also one of the reasons I think the Bip is a little more comfortable to wear. As far as buttons go, the Cor here on the right has a soft capacitive button bar, and that's it. The Bip on the left has a traditional single button on the right of the watch, and these buttons on both watches are used to wake the watch. The physical button on the Bip can also be used to navigate back to previous screens. One difference between these two watches is you can't interact with the screen with touches on the Bip until you unlock it with the button. On the Cor, it's unlocked right away. One thing I was a little disappointed in, it wasn't a huge deal, but the display doesn't entirely fill the watch face. I think they could have stretched it out a little bit. They also snuck in their logo on the Bip, whereas on the Cor you don't have a logo on the watch face. Another feature I would have liked to have seen is the ability to change the font size. I prefer some larger font sizes. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. Neither watch allows you to change the font size, which is a little disappointing. This particular watch face on the Bip, I chose it because I could see the elements a little more clearly, but some of the watch faces, the elements are very small and difficult to read. One thing you'll notice here on the Bip is the always on screen, which I really like. The Cor does not have that feature. You always have to turn it on or lift your wrist in order to start it, which I think is a little annoying. I have other smartwatches that do that, and I'd rather have a traditional always on screen, just like your old traditional watches. In sunlight, the Bip wins hands down for readability. I couldn't see the Cor in sunlight at all. The Bip was easily readable. The Cor uses an LCD while the Bip uses a transflective display that's very easily readable. The huge difference in readability in sunlight is practically a deal breaker for me. I would think it would be a deal breaker for many that want to use either of these watches for outdoor fitness. So here's one of the watch faces I was talking about, that it's really difficult to see some of the elements on the screen, such as steps and heart rate. I do like this watch face because of the larger numbers for the clock, but it is difficult to see a lot of the other elements on the screen. Here's a different, well, let's go ahead and go through changing the watch face. There's a number of watch faces that are included. You can go into settings and watch face on the Cor here, and this is one of the watch faces. And on some of the watch faces, you can just swipe to the right and change the colors. This one you can't. Now this would normally show weather when it's connected. You can only have one watch connected at a time. This one's not connected. This one is. The Bip is. The Cor isn't. So it's not going to show weather right now. But these are some of the other watch faces. So changing the watch faces is similar on the Bip here. Activate it. Swipe over to settings and then click watch face, and then you have a number of watch faces here. You just click on them when you want to select one. That's a built-in one, so is that. One thing I wasn't happy with on either watch, both watches don't allow you to change the time from 24-hour to 12-hour. These are showing 12-hour because this particular watch face shows 12-hour time. But if you like a watch face and it's showing 24-hour time, there's no way to change that watch face to show 12-hour time. So another thing about this is I couldn't find a way to actually turn off the Cor watch at all. There's if you go into settings, there's a way to restart it and there's a way to reset it, but no way to turn it off. There is a way to turn off the Bip watch. You go into settings and you go down. There's a factory reset, but then there's a turn off if you want to turn off the watch. So now let's talk about one of the reasons to get this watch. One of the things it's advertised for, and that's the fitness part of it. Let's start with the Bip. They both have very similar functionality as far as fitness goes. If you simply want to, at any time, take your heart rate, you just slide over and go into status. And as soon as you do that, I don't have it on right now, but you can see the little heart pounding. It is measuring your heart rate right then. That's one way to do it. Obviously, the other way to do it is to go into an activity. So let's go into activities. There's more here on the Bip than there is on the Cor, but there's outdoor running, treadmill, cycling, walking, and then you can look at your history and then go through a few settings for your activities. You can get heart rate alerts, pace alert, and distance alerts. On the Cor, it's very similar for your activities. You slide up and go to your activities, but there's only two activities listed here. Treadmill and exercise. You go to treadmill, and as soon as you hit one of these, it starts it, and it'll start your activity and measure distance, frequency, time, and heart rate. So I'm going to try to end this. If you don't go long enough, it won't record your activity. Exercise is the same thing, and you just press and hold the touch bar at the bottom in order to end it. Going back to the Bip and starting an activity, it shows you a few different measurements here. Your distance, your time, your heartbeat, your steps, stride length, etc. And it also shows you your current altitude and how many feet you've gained and lost in altitude. One other thing I should mention is water resistance. The Cor can withstand pressure up to 50 meters of water depth. You can use it in swimming pools, taking a shower. They don't recommend using it when you're diving or in a sauna. The Bip is IP68 certified, which is just 1.5 meters water depth for 30 minutes maximum, and they don't recommend using it in the shower or swimming with it. Notifications on both watches seem to be handled the same way. I didn't see any differences at all. You can have up to 10 notifications on the watch at one time. After that, it will start deleting old notifications. So you simply swipe up and down to read notifications, and then you can swipe right to delete an individual notification. It works the same way on the Cor. I'm not going to show it right now because it's not connected to my phone. And when you swipe all the way to the bottom, you see clear. It should just say delete all. It deletes all your notifications. You still have them on your phone. Let's take a look at the weather screen. It's very simple. Shows high temperature, low temperature, and current temperature. Alarms only show up on the watch after you have created them in the Mi Fit app. You cannot edit, create, or delete the alarms on the watch. You can only do that in the Mi Fit app. On the watch, you can either enable or disable them only. The timer feature has both a stopwatch and countdown timer. They are pretty self-explanatory. The Bip has a compass. That's a feature that's not on the Cor. Once you orient it, you should be able to see the north latitude, east longitude, altitude, and pressure. And we've already gone through some settings, but here you can set what a long press of the side button does, start activities, or even turn off the watch. You can adjust brightness. There's 5 different settings, but there's no auto brightness. Of course, you can change watch faces. You can find your device, and if you do, you'll hear this on your phone. You'll hear that. And you can factory reset and turn off your phone from here, which you can't do on the Cor. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this comparison of the Amazfit Bip and Cor watches useful. If you enjoyed it, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to get notified when new reviews like this get posted. Also, please let me know what you think in the comments.